So like a couple weeks ago, we got the Jonas Brothers on. Nick Jonas is telling these stories, these different golf stories, and kind of being in the biz and different buddies, and he tells this story about a speech and about you, and so then it just worked out where Frankie's like, hey, I think Shay wants to come on the show. So like, how true is this story? Did he like dog himself, you? Like, how true is this story?
Dude, it's very true. It was one of the weirdest, like, it's just one of those things where like I can't imagine. We didn't talk about it for probably like, I don't know, 2 months. Like till you guys, they told the story with you guys. We hadn't told like anyone that had happened. Like there was just a lot of people on Twitter. Like I'm pretty sure he just thanked Joseph Jonas for some weird reason, and like that must be like that's a weird coincidence. That must be like one of their producers' names. Like like. And I also love that. Like I think that they like whatever I was thanking them. This is the long way around the story, but before I forget. Right whenever I said I'd like to thank Joseph Jonas, they like pan over to Smokey Robinson. Like, I don't know why. Like, it was like, oh, and he knows. They're all good friends, like him and Smokey, and like he gets this story. That's where we're going in on it. I've always wondered why they kind of just like zoomed in on him after I said Joseph Jonas. Like, that was Joseph Jonas. Like, that's Smokey is a nickname. That's actually Joseph Jonas. He was one of their producers. But anyways, so this story, it started. We actually went on a golf trip to Scottsdale National. And so I haven't been on a ton of golf trips, I mean, I have 2 kids now. Going on golf trips isn't one of those things like, hey, I'll be back in like 2 weeks, babe. I'm going to go on a golf trip real quick.
Right.
And so this was one of those times that Nick and Joe, they have, they're obviously, some of the biggest stars in the world. And they're also just like the sweetest human beings ever. And they will ask like real casually, like for us to go on these trips. Like, hey man, I'm going to head out to the Hamptons. Like, do you guys want to join? I'm sitting there like, at my family's farm, like scooping poop or something. Like, oh man, I would make it, but I can't make it today. But they, it's awesome. Like they'll, invite me on these like random trips. So he texted me one day and he was like, hey man, I'm going to put together this golf trip, going to Scottsdale National, if you'd like to join. And I was like, dude, that would be amazing, but I was like, I had just gotten back from a trip and I was like, I don't think that my wife's going to go for this. She's very cool with me, going and doing things, but like I just got back from this trip. So I told her, I was like, yeah, like, Nick just invited me to this trip. And she was like, you should go. You should definitely go. So things are heating up in our marriage. Things are going really well now, ever since she let me go on that trip. So we head out to, Scottsdale National. And this was like the week before the Grammys, right? This was, I can't remember the date because I've lost all track of time during quarantine. But it was sometime toward the beginning of the year when the world still was awesome. And anyway, so we like get out to Scottsdale National. And it's me and Joe and Nick and his manager, Philly, Mac, and a couple other guys. And so we go on this golf trip. We're there for like 3 days. And I think we played like 98 holes of golf. Like it was just so much golf. Like we were doing night golf and things. And so I think it was the first night we were there was the night of the, it was a big fight. It was Cowboy and McGregor, I think that was the fight that was happening. Yep. And so we get there and we had golfed all day long. I think we played like 2 18-holes of golf. And so that night they're like, yeah, we're going to play, a night golf on the Dirty Little Nine. I'm sure you guys have probably heard of that. It's like the little par 3 9-hole that they have there at Scottsdale National. And so it's all this like ridiculous, I mean, it's the most ridiculous little course I've ever seen. I mean, there's like 30-foot drops down with like sand. Like it's not even a real golf course. Like you have to take a lift up to the green. Like you can't even walk there. It's like outrageous. So we're sitting there, and what they didn't mention too, this is a pretty funny little tidbit. I think this was also like on the last hole, like one of the last holes that we were playing. And so he tells me, he's like, hey, by the way, like Phil's going to meet us up here, and we're going to watch the fight. We're going to, finish this game and go watch the fight with him. And I'm sitting there like Philly Mack is their manager, and he'd been golfing with us all day long, and he's standing like maybe 10 feet away. And I was like, yeah, he's right there, like, what are you talking about? I thought he was making a joke, and he was like, yeah, like, Dr. Phil. And I was like, oh, got it. Dr. Phil, got it. And I thought he was kidding. I was like, and I mean, no sooner than he said that, I hear like, hey boys. And I look up, Dr. Phil is there. And I'm like, this can't be like, I'm sitting here, first of all. I mean, this is all still, no matter how like, how big that you get as an artist and how many cool things you do, there are moments where you're just like, this is one of the more ridiculous things that's ever happened to me. I'm sitting here with the Jonas Brothers, and Dr. Phil is here. Is this is this real life right now? And so anyways, that happened, and we ended up watching the fight with him. So he was around. That just makes the story just more hilarious in my mind. So yeah, we get up there in this par 3, and it was like the last hole, and Nick is like, let's make this one interesting. We've been hanging out there all day. I'm not in like the greatest shape of my life right now. We just played 18 holes of golf. Like, I'm barely swinging the club. Like, I'm trying different things. I'm like side saddling it. Like, maybe that'll get it there. I don't know. So he's sitting there like, all right, let's do a little bet. And if, and you guys, they told a story. If you land it, and I land it, vice versa, like you guys have to thank each other, whatever. So whoever landed the green. So I'm like, this is impossible. Like, nobody had hit the green all day long. Like, things were not going, everyone was pretty well. We've been having a good time. Things have been going well.
Dr. Phil's there. You got to have a good time.
Dr. Phil was there, and we were under supervision. It's very important.
Exactly.
You got to drink responsibly. They're pretty big stars. They have just bigger doctors that come out and do those things. But anyway, so we're sitting there, and I'm like, there's no way anyone's gonna hit the green. So sure enough, he lands it it was like 1.5 foot from the hole, maybe even close to that. It was like almost the hole in one. I couldn't believe it. I was like, this is the most, of course he would. Like, he looks like that, and he'd golf. Like, what an idiot. I hate that guy. He's so attractive and like just good at golf.
Yeah.
Anyways, yeah, we'll get into that later. He's a real piece of crap of how nice he is. He's just such a good guy. Nick, on the other hand, he's not as nice of a guy. But I'm kidding. They're like the sweetest guys in the world. They're going to take that one clip and be like, Shay Mooney of Dan and Shay.
Yeah. That's a headline grab.
Yeah.
Oh,
what
big
happens
time.
next will blow your mind.
We're going to do that. That's what
Oh,
we're
yeah, no, that's very
I
good.
actually have our tabloid person online right now because Shay Mooney is trashing Nick Jonas.
You won't
guys are not
believe
gonna
what he
this.
said.
He's burning pictures of them. He hates that guy. So anyways, so we get to this, fast forward to Grammy night. I wasn't worried about it either, by the way, because every year they kind of switch back and forth of like what's actually on the show. So our award that we were up for, that we had won the previous year, we had won our first Grammy the last year, and it was like up for that same award. It was not on TV, like it was going to be. They have a pre-telecast like before the actual show. So you go there, and there's like this separate building right by the Staples Center, I think it is, or wherever the Forum, wherever the Grammys is. I think it's Staples Center. So right next door to that is like this little theater. And so there's people in there. There's quite a few people in there for like this telecast, but it's not, actually on the show. Like, they record it and everything, but it's not on the actual telecast. So I'm thinking like, whatever, like I'm not going to have to thank Joe. Like, no one's going to see this, like it'll be recorded. It'll be a funny story for like later. And so, that morning we get a call and they're like, hey guys, this is awesome. They're like, you guys actually are going to be on the show now. The telecast, they've switched your award. You guys are actually going to be on the show. And I was like, oh no, this is, at first, I'm not like expecting to win a Grammy, but like this was the one that we had won the previous year. And I was like, if there was ever a chance that we were going to get 2 in a row, like this is it. And at this point, I'm starting to like be pretty nervous. Like when I should be nervous, like, oh my, we're up for a Grammy. You know what I mean? Like I was so nervous. I was like, I'm going to have to thank Joseph Jonas on national television, like one of the biggest music events in the world. And I'm going to have to thank him. I don't know how I'm going to explain that to like people and to like my managers and be like, listen, this is going to sound crazy, but I'm going to go ahead and thank Joseph Jonas for this. And this is going to be weird. But so I was just like, whatever, I'm just going to throw it in there. Like if we happen to, we happen to win. So this is also, my wife was currently pregnant with our second baby. So she was home. She didn't get to come to the show. So like, I'm there alone, and I'm very nervous at this point. We're sitting there, our awards coming up, and I'm like, I can't believe this. Like, I'm going to have to thank Joseph Jones. My wife's at home. I hope I don't forget to thank her. Because that'd be horrible. I was like, she's going to leave with the baby. She's not even going to come back. So,
empty house when you get back.
Sure, things. So anyways, we obviously we won, and I was so like, I just figured I'd pop up there like, I got to say this, like a bet is a bet. And I knew it'd be a pretty great story for later, because the things that had to happen to have that moment were, it was significant. We got Dr. Phil there. He probably had something to do with it. I don't know how, but yeah, that was one of the craziest stories that I will tell my kids, and they'll think, wow, one of these days, like a long, long time ago, you were actually kind of cool.
You're a man.
Because not only do you like win a Grammy, which is astronomically cool, right? Like it's something that no one can even fathom of doing. But then you also have this story where I don't know how many people have been able to use a joke or like a bet with a Grammy speech, because like you think it's like your one and only chance.
Yeah.
Let me thank everyone. Like we said on the podcast, Joseph Jonas came before God at that point, right? Like most people get up there and they're thanking, oh, first and foremost, I want to thank God and everyone who's gotten me here. But Joseph Jonas, because he hit a 7-iron closer to a pin on some drunk boys trip with Dr. Phil, like that is so like sadistic to me. It's like I love it. That is such like a boys bet.
It is. It was such a
it.
boys' bet. It was so ridiculous. But it was one of those things, like, if there was one guy out there that was like, man, I hate Dan and Shay. Like, I hate those guys. Like, there was one guy watching, and he's like, you know what? I respect that guy.
Yeah.
After that, they're like, you know what? I'm going to check out that music again. It's nice.
Man, well, now even more now that they know the story. I mean,
right. You're a man of integrity.
Correct.
You know, integrity. I would go on, but that's all. I can't think of anything else.
It is just super relatable. Like that, something like that has happened to like everyone, where they've had to like start a best man speech or something by thanking a guy because, oh, what's the story about that? It's like a year and a half ago, we were shit faced at like, at Piner, and like somebody hit one tight. I didn't think he was going to do that.
And I feel like that happens.
You are on just a bigger scale.
It happens all the time too. Like, I mean, there's been stories I'm sure that we all have. That's like, you've been out on the course, you make some ridiculous thing, and it's so funny, like in this world, that all the things that had to come together for that actually to be like on TV and like on this moment is just hilarious to me.
So
I love it.